Linda is 31 years old, single, outspoken, and very bright. She majored in philosophy as a student. She was deeply concerned with issues of discrimination and social justice and participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Now, which of these is more probable? A. Linda was a bank teller. B. Linda was a bank teller and a feminist. If you chose option B, you're in good company. The majority of people who have ever been given this problem chose option B. And every single one of them was wrong. Option B is logically impossible to be more probable than option A. And here's why. A feminist bank teller is a subset of all bank tellers. A subset cannot be more probable than the whole. Welcome to the representativeness heuristic. Judging how likely something is by how closely it resembles the prototype, or the mental image you form, of a category, rather than by actual statistical probability. What some call going with your gut over the available data or facts. I'm John Balla, Chief Content Creator for the Critical Thinking Literacy channel. In our last episode, we examined the availability heuristic, the tendency to judge the probability of an event by how easily examples come to mind. Today, we examine its direct companion, the representativeness heuristic. And if the availability heuristic explains why we are misled by what is vivid, the representativeness heuristic explains why we are misled by what fits with our mental image. In 1974, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky published their landmark paper, Judgment Under Uncertainty, Heuristics and Biases, in the journal Science. It identified three fundamental mental shortcuts, or heuristics, that govern human judgment under uncertainty: availability, representativeness, and anchoring. The representativeness heuristic was defined precisely. We judge the probability that something belongs to a category based on how closely it resembles the prototype, the mental image, of that category, rather than on the data and facts available to us. In plain language, if it looks like a duck, we assume it is a duck. And we make that assumption even when the statistical evidence points overwhelmingly to something else. Let us return to Linda. The Linda problem was designed by Kahneman and Tversky, yep, those guys again, in 1983 and published in the journal Psychological Review. It has since become one of the most cited demonstrations in the history of cognitive psychology. When you read Linda's description, outspoken, concerned with social justice, philosophy major, anti-nuclear demonstrator, your brain immediately constructs a mental image. That image closely matches the prototype of a feminist. It does not match the prototype of a bank teller. So option B, bank teller and feminist, feels more representative of who Linda is and therefore more probable. Note the transitive verb feels over is. That's the giveaway that something isn't right. This particular error has a name, the conjunction fallacy. It occurs when we judge the probability of two events occurring together, a conjunction, as higher than the probability of either event occurring alone. This is mathematically impossible. For all you logic or math geeks out there, a detailed explanation is provided in the description below. The Linda problem demonstrates the conjunction fallacy, but the representativeness heuristic produces a second, equally consequential error, base rate neglect, which means ignoring the statistical likelihood of X occurring. For example, the base rate of flipping a coin and getting heads is 50%, and it's 50% regardless of how you feel about the outcome of the next coin flip. Hence, the popular adage, feelings are not facts. Tversky and Kahneman demonstrated this with the engineer-lawyer problem. Participants were told that a group of 100 people had been interviewed. Some engineers, some lawyers. When participants were given a description that strongly matched the engineer stereotype, they estimated a high probability that Jack was an engineer, regardless of the group's proportions. The description overrode the base rate entirely. The base rate is the actual statistical frequency. Yet the representativeness heuristic systematically causes us to weight the description heavily and the base rate lightly, sometimes to the point of ignoring the base rate entirely. Here you see how the participants largely ignored the data in favor of the mental image they formed about Jack as an engineer. So why does this happen? Because heuristics, or rules of thumb, utilize System 1 thinking, which is easy, fast, automatic, effortless, and pattern-based, whereas System 2, the domain of analytical thinking, is difficult, slow, deliberate, effortful, and lazy. Yep. Sound decision-making is attainable by just about anyone because it's not about IQ, it's about effort. And like most things in life worth achieving, effort and practice are how we get there. Check out Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, to learn more about this dual process theory. Its contributions to behavioral economics and cognitive psychology are difficult to overstate. Neuroscience explains why this bias is so persistent. The brain processes pattern recognition through fast, automatic System 1 processing. This allows you to recognize a face in milliseconds. As such, System 1 has its place and purpose. In fact, we would not have evolved without it. However, probabilistic and analytical reasoning are System 2 features. It occurs in the prefrontal cortex. As was just illustrated, pattern matching, or System 1, fires first. Probability calculation, or System 2, requires deliberate effort to override it. So, like any skill worth acquiring, System 2 becomes an extremely powerful resource. In fact, once System 2 inquiry becomes a habit, it becomes a System 2 heuristic. And that's when your mind becomes supercharged for optimal decision-making. No genius is required, just a willingness to extend your self-awareness and putting it to good work. There is a third manifestation, the gambler's fallacy. The belief that tails is due after a run of heads is driven by the representativeness heuristic. A long run of heads does not look random, so the brain concludes, through System 1 pattern recognition, that tails must be coming, but the coin has no memory. The base rate of a 50-50 chance never changes. The representativeness heuristic overrides it, leaving System 2 idle. Now let's take a look at a few case studies. Case Study 1, Medical Diagnosis. Research documented that clinicians systematically use this heuristic in diagnosis, matching symptoms to prototypes or their own mental image, rather than to the base rate of probability. In other words, the physician chooses their gut feeling or impulse over probability data available to them. A patient whose symptoms resemble those of a rare disease may receive that diagnosis at the expense of a more common condition. The match to the prototype overrides the statistical likelihood. That's right, even highly educated medical professionals are prone to the representativeness heuristic, something to consider the next time you engage with the healthcare system. Case Study 2, Criminal Justice, where the representativeness heuristic has real consequences. Juries and law enforcement are influenced by how closely a suspect matches their mental prototype of a guilty person. This leads to biased profiling and wrongful convictions. So when someone says they looked guilty, that's the representativeness heuristic in action. This is how justice really works. Notice anything different about me here? Case Study 3, Hiring. The candidate who looks the part is overrated relative to qualifications. The unconventional candidate is underrated regardless of capability. The heuristic selects for resemblance to the prototype or the mental image of the ideal candidate. This is something to bear in mind if you are interviewing for a new job. It's equally important to be mindful of as an HR professional who may be doing or overseeing the recruitment process. Case Study 4, Financial Markets. Investors overvalue companies that resemble the prototype of a successful growth company, ignoring fundamentals. This produces the glamour stock effect. Now, here's what we can't do. The representativeness heuristic cannot be eliminated, but it can be managed and managed effectively. If you're going with your gut instinct, even when good information is available, you are relying on System 1 cognition and all the limitations that come with it. But if you want to make better decisions that help you reach your goals and improve your life, prime yourself to ask this simple question. Am I going with my feelings, or am I going with the facts? If it's your feelings, you're in the System 1 heuristic zone. But as long as you ask yourself this simple question before deciding, You are inviting System 2 to take part in your decision-making process. Now you have both data points, what mental image or feelings are telling you, and what the data actually shows. By self-intervening with this question, System 2 fires into action. And voila! You are now in the position to make better, more informed decisions because you have better information. If this video gave you something real, not just the feeling of knowing but actual knowledge, please like and share. Our goal is to bring the tools of self-empowerment, free of political or religious dogma, and free of charge, to everyone. Democracy runs on arguments, both bad and good. If these videos move that needle, please like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, I'm John Balla. Think critically and choose wisely.